Hey YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and sad news. Today, the GR50 Roland guitar synth died. As you know, I have been setting up and for preparation of recording a new song cycle or CD, if you will. And we worked really hard, like 20 hours yesterday. I was up until, 10 a.m. Slept in till 8 p.m. and then got up and got a lot more work done tonight. Through the process, we had replaced the CMOS battery in the Roland GR50 guitar synth, and then I needed to redo the factory patches because they were erased when I removed the CMOS battery. And I use a program called MIDIOX and then the original Roland factory data as a sysx data dump. So we shut the MIDI switch on, is RRC or MIDI in the back of it, shut that on. I went to the memory protect and shut that off. And then I went over to the computer. We had the MIDI cable hooked up coming out of the computer interface into the, and I've got the sysx data loaded and the MIDIOX getting ready to send it, and I looked down at the synth window and it was grayed out. So when you turn it on, flashes on with no text, and when you shut it off, it'll flash again. And I looked this up. Another guy said he had bought a Roland GR50 guitar synthesizer unit at a garage sale, and it doesn't work. So we took the back off of it and tested some voltages, and the voltages weren't right. So I don't know what's going on with this thing. If the power supply is bad, like the actual transformer, that's what it looked like. It was very frustrating because it was working, and I thought maybe I would be able to use it, at least record this one more album with it. As you can see, it comes on, but these lamps are orange, and by pressing them, nothing happens. There's no text on the screen, and when you shut it off, it does this blink. See that blink? And unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's any way to service this or have it repaired. It doesn't look like people have figured out. What it looks like is Roland GR50s at some point, they die. They do this. And there's no, on the internet, order this capacitor and put it in and it'll work. So the point is, I had gotten the idea in my head that I was going to be using guitar synthesis on this next album. That did not pan out. I went and got my old GR50 out, replaced the CMOS battery. It was working. I just needed to, because I have these sound cards for it, and when you put the factory data was all scrambled, gibberish. And when you put the sound card in it, it was fine. And I got everything set up and went to do the sysx dump and restore the factory data. And right at that time, that's when it failed. So it's not the end of the world. I'm continuing with my plans. We've got a ton of work. We worked 20 hours till 10 in the morning. And then I slept till 8 p.m. today. So Gamti and I have just killed it. We've done an incredible amount of work getting this area where I'm going to be able to record music, all that junk set up. Notice I didn't say my studio. Okay? Notice how I avoid that. So yeah, all of that shit is set up. The only thing I didn't get a chance to test was the SPDIF coaxial connection between this rack mount Kurzweil synth and the Firewire interface. And if that doesn't work, I ran a pair of good old-fashioned 20-foot quarter-inch guitar cables from the back of that rack mount area all the way over to where the two preamps are. So if I have a problem with this SPDIF digital coax, like I don't know what kind of cable. I've got some Cat 6 cable that's rated up to 3 gigahertz in frequency, and it is coaxial, and it's fully shielded. So I don't know if that's going to work. I've got a few different kinds of cable that terminate in RCAs that I can test out, because it's not just a normal RCA connection cable when you're talking about a SPDIF RCA digital coax. It's a specific cable, and they have some they're made for subwoofers, some that are made for video. So while you may see this fancy gold-plated RCA cable and think that's what it is, the digital one is the least common of the single fancy RCA. So, and that being said, the run is 9 feet. It's not a 6-foot run. We've got some long runs in this setup. There's two computers, a pair of tube preamps with an equalizer, then the Moore Ocean machine is the main delay, and then we have the interface, which is a Firewire cable with a headphone amp that sits on top of it. There's another computer that's specifically for VST, VSTI, and that has a station with a MIDI controller and then a keyboard controller that has a scrub wheel on it, along with rack mount synth, monitor speakers. There's 2 computer monitors and then an amp. And I'm going to get another set of speakers in here too. I like to have a couple of different speakers. So one of them having a subwoofer. So be tracking on some crappy headphones, mixing on some nicer headphones, and then switching over to speakers. You know, that's pretty much how it goes. So, yeah. We found a lot of stuff that we needed to find. We have this huge list of stuff we needed to find. We're getting all the technology connected. Everything's working. We're just really close to being finished with all of that. Both of us are in extremely foul moods. I am just racked with pain, and I go to do this thing with this synth, and it dies. I mean, this thing, when did we get it?
1991, December, I think.
December of 1991. And it enabled me, I was playing bass with that, with a Strat. I would just use some EQ and really EQ it. You know, I would really EQ the amp, and then I had an EQ pedal, and I would run the straight guitar through some delay and reverb and have that come in on some songs. Sometimes I would reverse it with the backwards box. But playing the bass on a Strat, it was fun. And I mean, there was 2 inputs on the bass amp. Okay, so one of them was the synth, the other one was a regular bass, and I would switch back and forth. But it was a lot of fun, and I real quickly figured out that I could connect a sequencer to this and also a computer, and I started programming my own drum beats using the drum sounds that are in the Roland synth, because they're good. They're pretty good drum sounds. So that enabled me to get into home recording, and that was my synth that I accessed with MIDI keyboards, and or the guitar. So like, I did so much with this up until like '96 when I got a Kawai K11 synth. The sounds were more modern on it. But I never MIDI'd out of this to a more modern sound module, and that was what I was doing. I wanted to have the stock sounds in here, so you didn't need to have a sound card in it, and I was going to blast that over via SysX. I didn't do anything to fry it. When it fried, I barely turned the power on. It was sitting, I had went and said, turn the memory protect off, and I was going on the computer reading how to use this program called MIDIOX and blast to a sysx dump, blast it down. So I was reading all of that, and I looked down at the thing, and it's gray, and my heart just sank, because I was like, it was on. And I looked, and everything else is on except that, and the power switch was in, so I plugged it, shut it off, and it flashed. Oh my god. Turn it back on, it flashes, and then nothing. So we opened it up, we did some voltage tests, the voltages are not right. It looks like the main transformer is smoked or something. I don't know. Other people on the internet mentioned having the same problem with this. The guy was like, he bought one at a garage sale and it doesn't work, and when you turn it on it flashes, when you shut it off it flashes. So evidently this is what some of these, when they get this old, you know, it's 30 years old, when they fail, this is what they do. So it's been an unbelievably trying time for me in this past couple of months. There was a real lot of bullshit with these computers, and then there was a real lot of fighting and arguing between my wife and I, finding this stuff and getting it all set up, because we stayed up all night and pushed ourselves. And then it's like there's light at the end of the tunnel, and then this happens. This massive thing. GR50 is dead. So I'm gonna need some time to recover mentally, and then jump back in and get going, because ultimately it doesn't matter. I can you know, I made minor technical difficulties, I made digitally delayed, and I made 02022020, and I didn't have the fucking GR50. So there you go. And eventually maybe I'll end up getting one. You know, wouldn't that be great? I certainly would put it to use. So if anyone has a guitar synthesizer and you're not using it, get a hold of me. Let's talk. I would love to feature that on this new recording. It would go right along with what I had planned, and now what I've got to mentally deal with. So, all right, you guys, just letting you know what's going on, and I really do appreciate everybody rooting for me and all the great positive feedback that I got on this channel. I really do appreciate it. So thanks for that support. I'll talk to you guys soon, and